Have you ever wondered why certain GPS coordinates lead to houses that officially don't exist? In the archives of the Ohio State Police, there is a folder marked Incident 1158. It involves a delivery driver named Liam, a pepperoni pizza, and a house on a hill that was demolished 30 years before Liam was even born. But here is the part that will make your skin crawl. Investigators found Liam's car idling in a snowbank, but when they checked the dashboard camera, the footage didn't show a blizzard. It showed a bright, sunny afternoon in the middle of July, even though it was midnight in December. Today, we are opening the logs of Liam's final delivery. The question isn't where Liam went. The question is, what is currently wearing his clothes? Welcome to Midnight Logs. Liam was 22 years old, living the kind of life where every dollar mattered. It was New Year's Eve, and the town was buried under a gray, suffocating blanket of snow. He was exhausted, his hands shaking from the cold, and he was ready to quit. Then, the screen in the shop flickered. A new order, a single pepperoni pizza. The tip was $500, paid up front through the app. The address was simple: the White House on the hill. Liam didn't recognize the address, but for $500 he didn't care. He grabbed the box, feeling the warmth of the dough through the cardboard, and stepped out into the freezing wind. As Liam drove toward the edge of town, the radio began to glitch. It wasn't just static. It was a recording of a man crying, a sound so raw and guttural that Liam had to turn it off. He checked his phone. The GPS was moving in circles, the blue dot spinning as if it were lost in a vortex. He reached the base of the hill and began to climb. The higher he went, the stranger the air became. The snow started to thin out. The temperature inside the car began to rise. He turned off the heater. Then he rolled down the windows. By the time he reached the summit, the blizzard was gone. Liam stopped the car and stared. Below the hill, he could still see the dark, frozen town. But here, on the peak, it was afternoon. The sun was high in the sky, a pale, sickly yellow orb that didn't seem to move. The grass was a vibrant, unnatural green, swaying in a warm breeze that smelled like rotting flowers. And there, in the center of the field, was the house. It was a perfect, two-story colonial, painted a white so bright it made his eyes water. It looked like a photograph from a 1950s magazine. Everything was too sharp, too saturated, too perfect. Liam's heart began to thud against his ribs. This was wrong. It was midnight. He should be in a snowstorm. He looked at his watch, 11:58 p.m. He looked at the sun. It hadn't moved a centimeter. He stepped out of the car, the heat hitting him like a physical blow. He felt a sudden, overwhelming urge to turn back, but his legs moved toward the front door as if he were being pulled by invisible wires. He reached the porch. The wood was polished, not a speck of dust in sight. He knocked. The door opened instantly. A woman stood there. She was wearing a floral dress and a string of pearls. Her hair was perfectly coiffed, and her skin looked like it was made of wax. She didn't look like a ghost. She looked like a neighbor. But when she smiled, Liam felt his stomach turn. Her smile was so wide that the corners of her mouth almost touched her ears. She showed every single one of her teeth, and she had too many. "You're finally here, Liam," she said. Her voice didn't sound human. It sounded like 1,000 people whispering the same sentence at once. "We've been so hungry." Liam stepped back, his hand clutching the pizza box. I have your order," he stammered. The woman tilted her head, her smile never flickering. "Oh, honey," she whispered, "we didn't order the pizza for us to eat. We ordered it to see if you would still remember what real food tastes like. Before the change." Liam looked past her into the living room. There, sitting on a pristine white sofa, were 3 men. They were all wearing the same delivery uniform as Liam. They were all sitting perfectly still, their hands on their knees staring at the wall. And as Liam watched, one of the men slowly turned his head. His face was a mirror image of Liam's. It was Liam. But his eyes were gone, replaced by 2 glowing yellow circles. The man on the sofa opened his mouth and spoke in Liam's own voice. "Don't go in the kitchen, Liam," the double whispered. They've already set your plate." The silence in the house wasn't empty. It was heavy, like a physical weight pressing down on Liam's eardrums. He stared at the man on the sofa, the man who looked exactly like him, and felt a cold, sharp realization. The double wasn't just a twin. It was a shell, a version of Liam that had been drained of everything that made him human. Liam tried to back away, but the woman in the floral dress moved with impossible speed. Her hand clamped around his wrist, her skin feeling like dry, sun-bleached bone. "Don't be rude, Liam," she whispered, her too wide smile stretching even further until the skin at the corners of her mouth began to crack. "The guests are waiting. And the pizza is getting cold." She led him toward the kitchen. Liam tried to scream, but his voice was gone, trapped in a throat that felt like it was filled with dry sand. As they passed the dining room, he looked at the table again. The 12 silent guests weren't just sitting there, they were vibrating. Their bodies were humming at a frequency that made Liam's teeth ache. And on their plates, it wasn't pizza. They were eating small, delicate clock gears and shredded pieces of old, yellowed photographs. Liam saw a photo of his mother being torn apart by a man with no eyes. They entered the kitchen. The blinding yellow light was even stronger here, reflecting off the white-tiled walls until Liam's vision began to blur into a painful haze. In the center of the room was a massive wooden block, and on that block sat the pizza box Liam had just delivered. The woman leaned in, her breath smelling like old copper and stagnant water. "Open it, Liam. Show us what you brought for the new year." Liam's hands moved against his will. His fingers trembled as they caught the edge of the cardboard. He flipped the lid open, but there was no pepperoni pizza inside. Inside the box was Liam's own heart. It was still beating. Slow, heavy, rhythmic. "Every year, we need a new heart to keep the hill green," the woman said, her voice now a deep, guttural roar that shook the very foundations of the house. "Every year, a boy comes up the hill. And every year, he leaves his time behind." Liam looked at the clock on the kitchen wall. 11:59 p.m. The second hand was twitching, struggling to move past the final mark. He realized then the brutal truth of Incident 1158. He wasn't the first Liam. He wasn't even the 10th. He looked at the wall behind the woman. There, pinned to the corkboard, were hundreds of delivery IDs. All of them had his name. All of them had his face. Some were from 1994. Some were from 1974. One was even from 1926. The realization shattered his mind. He wasn't being murdered. He was being harvested. With a burst of adrenaline born from pure madness, Liam grabbed the heavy pizza box and slammed it into the woman's face. There was no sound of breaking bone, only the sound of a hollow ceramic jar shattering. He didn't wait to see her fall. He turned and dived through the kitchen window. He didn't hit the ground. He kept falling through a void of yellow light and screaming static. Liam woke up with a gasp. He was sitting in his car. The engine was idling. The heater was humming. He checked the dashboard. He was at the base of the hill. The blizzard was back, the snow hitting the windshield like white bullets. He looked at the passenger seat. The pepperoni pizza was there, fresh, hot. His phone buzzed. A message from the shop manager. "Liam, where are you?" The customer called. "They said you're late for the New Year's delivery." Liam's hands were shaking so hard he could barely grip the wheel. He looked at the clock. 11:58 p.m. He looked at the GPS. It was spinning. He looked in the rearview mirror, and his heart stopped. Sitting in the back seat was a woman in a floral dress. She wasn't smiling anymore. She was holding a clock, and the time on the clock was moving backward. "Happy New Year, Liam," she whispered. The car was found 3 days later, buried under 10 feet of snow. The police report states that the driver's side door was locked from the inside, but the car was empty. The only thing the investigators couldn't explain was the smell. When they opened the vehicle, the interior didn't smell like a cold car. It smelled like a fresh summer afternoon and rotting flowers. Liam is still out there, somewhere between 11:58 and midnight, somewhere on a hill that doesn't exist. If you see a White House in the middle of a storm, don't knock, because they're always looking for a fresh heart to start the year. It's always 11:58, and the countdown has just begun.